It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. A little bit of delay there, I'm sorry. Today's date is February 20th, 2025. It's the C block, which puts it in around 7:40, but we're running way late this morning. Okay, you're in A block. You told the story. What county was that with the sheriff had that whole deal? What was that?
Iron County, southwest of the St. Louis area.
Okay, that was the story about things that were disappearing out of the evidence locker and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, when the police department I worked for, one of the detectives broke up a theft ring, okay? And one of the things that was stolen was a pitching machine. And they recovered this when they raided, I can't remember, they raided somebody's garage or something like that. And we had all this stuff one day, and we had a relatively small evidence locker, and there was so much stuff that they didn't have any place to put it. So for the time being, they stacked it up in the squad room. We had a fairly large squad room where the officers came in and, lockers and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things was a Jugs machine, which I believe was made by, in the old days, there was a company called Jugs, because if you go way, 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 way back in the history of baseball, before they had the automatic scoreboard that, showed how fast the pitch was, there was literally a guy who sat behind home plate with this special radar gun. It was made by the company called Jugs, Juggs, and they made a bunch of other baseball stuff. So this Jugs machine was one of the kind that had the two spinning wheels, and you had the little area where you put the baseball in. You would hold it up and show the batter you putting the baseball in. You drop it down this little chute, and it would go between the two wheels, and it would fly out and go toward home. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I used one every week.
Okay, so we had this Jugs machine for about a week sitting in the squad room. So when things got slow at the police department, we would take pieces of paper and we would crumple them up and then wrap them with tape, and we would play baseball with, I can't remember what we're using for a bat. We'd run this Jugs machine.
Like a broomstick or something?
What's that? Yeah, a stick or
like
something like that.
Yeah.
And one of us would feed these quote-unquote baseballs into the Jugs machine, and we would have batting practice in the squad room with the Jugs machine.
Nice. Very good. Now, that's a pretty good use of, and nobody stole it.
No,
you didn't throw it in the back of the truck and take it home.
Right, it just sat there, and then I can't remember what happened. I don't know if they
did somebody put their eye out?
No, because it was paper. It was, it wasn't like it was wrapped real tight or anything like that. It was like paper. We had to get it in a proper size where it would go through the machine. If you got it too small, it wouldn't catch in the wheels, and if you got it too big, it would just get all ripped up. And we got really good at making these balls, out of paper. So that's one of my. How's that for a police story? Okay. I can't believe I told that. I've never told that story before because
it sounds like a lot of fun, Brad. It sounds like an incentive to go work at a job like that.
I've told the story before. That was interesting was I knew these police officers. I knew them personally, and they would pull over cars and they would put their professional face on, their professional voice, and some of these guys were so funny. I mean, they were just incredibly funny. And we had this, and at the time, because I'm an old guy, most of these guys were World War II veterans. I mean, that's to give you an idea of how long ago this was. These guys were World War II veterans, and probably of the World War II veterans, probably half of them, at least maybe more than that, were combat veterans. I mean, these were guys, some of these guys were grizzled, it's like my dad. My dad was in combat all over Europe, and yet he never talked about that, I mean, he ended up, I think I told the story once or twice before when after he passed away, we had to, get the DD-214, all that kind of stuff, and we find out he had 3 Bronze Stars with Combat V, the Combat Val. I mean, we never knew that about him, but these guys were some of these guys, and we had this one old farm boy. His name was Officer Fulcher, Fulcher, and he loved to tow cars in no parking zones. And his favorite thing was, if you parked next to a fire hydrant, your car was getting towed, man. I mean, you were getting towed. And he would get on the radio, and I could still, just like it happened yesterday, and depending upon what car it was, we had different designations. But let's say he was in car 64 that day, he'd get on the car and he says Union 64 to base. Send me the hook. And that was the request.
And he got a lot of pleasure out of it. He was able to replace that wartime mentality with towing cars.
Well, yeah, I'm telling you. And the point, the funny point of it was that some of these people that he towed, when they showed up at the police station, which I worked at, and sometimes these people would come in like, really not happy to have their car towed. I would say half of them during the conversation in the police station, they would say, "Do you know who I am?" It's to the point where it's like, that's why I say, don't ever say that to a police officer, because instantly, if he was going to give you a warning, you're getting a ticket. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's like...
Yeah, of course.
Because they don't... I mean, face it, in life, you don't want to have anybody say, "Well, you're a peon. Do you know who I am?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people will automatically get defensive and go out of their way to hurt you.
Right. Okay. I made a comment yesterday on my Facebook page. I don't do a lot of politics in Facebook, but there's an article that was in Vanity Fair. Matter of fact, it was published over the weekend on Saturday. Do you know what I'm talking about? Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, you and I mentioned this, I think, on Monday. I asked you if you had seen it. Yeah.
Right. And the reason I bring this up is that I put on my Facebook page about the fact that I linked this story. Sheryl Crow sold her Tesla because she's mad at Elon Musk. She sold her Tesla and she donated the money to NPR. Okay, first off, I got a problem with that. Second off, my Facebook post read something to the effect that like, "Hey, do you drive a Toyota? Remember Pearl Harbor. Hey, do you drive a Volkswagen? Remember, Hitler created the Volkswagen, which was called the people's car, and guess who designed the Volkswagen for Hitler?" Do you know the answer to this story, John? Do you know the answer?
Who designed it? Was it BMW?
No. There was a man.
Mercedes.
No, there was a man who designed the Volkswagen for Hitler. You know who that man is?
No.
Ferdinand Porsche.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yes, and he's the guy who designed the Volkswagen Beetle. So Sheryl Crow is getting rid of her Tesla because she's mad at Elon Musk. I wonder if she's ever owned a Toyota. I wonder if she ever owned a Volkswagen. Remember, if you owned a Toyota, those same Japanese people bombed us at Pearl Harbor. If you owned a German car that originally was designed, the very first Volkswagens were built by, for the German government. And see, I don't know if you know that the story behind that was the Volkswagen was Hitler was going to give everybody a car. That was the whole deal behind that. That was one of his promises made to the German people. Everyone will get their own car. And then years later we had Oprah. You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. But yet, would anybody make that correlation between Hitler and Oprah? No, of course not.
Only you. Yeah, only you, Brad.
Only me, but see, what I'm saying is only the nutbag, super progressives would go like, "Oh, I don't blame her. I'm not going to buy a Tesla either, even though it's saving the environment because it's electric. I'm not going to have anything to do with Elon Musk." Okay, so why don't you go buy? Matter of fact, it was interesting. I heard it was yesterday, the day before. Tesla is the last name of Nikola Tesla. And did you know there was a truck manufacturer called Nikola? Did you know that?
Yeah, it's pronounced Nikola.
Nikola.
And we talked about it very early on when you and I began doing a show together, when they committed fraud with their trucks. And I mean, the company was nothing. By the way, all credit to Hedgeye on this, because Hedgeye called this out very early. The entire company was a fraud. Yeah. And I believe the longtime CEO is in jail right now.
Well, they just declared bankruptcy this week. They were
good. I didn't know they officially called it quit. Yeah, I used to be short Nikola, thanks to Hedgeye.
Right. And what's interesting was they went through the whole list of all the electric car manufacturers and truck manufacturers that have declared bankruptcy. And quite a few of them have gotten what money from where, John? Think about it. Where were they getting money from?
The federal government. Subsidies, yeah.
It's like, what was it, a couple weeks ago, you and I talked about this crazy thing with, I told you this place out, was it in California or New Mexico or Arizona that had the solar panel or the solar farm, but it wasn't the solar panels. It was like this big monstrous reflector that reflected the light to a central location, and which caused, which created energy and stuff like
which
that.
killed birds.
And the birds would fly through and instantly catch on fire. As a matter of fact, the guys that worked there, they called them streamers. The birds would fly through this big mirror kind of thing, and when the birds would fly through, they would hit a certain spot where all the rays of the sun were. In the old days when you were a kid, did you ever use the magnifying glass? Did you ever start paper on fire and stuff like that? Did you ever do that?
No, but I do know kids that would fry roly-polies.
Yeah. Yes, if you were a nasty person, you would fry ants and stuff like that with your magnifying glass. I never did, but I always had fun catching things on fire. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite things was 4th of July. I would delight in the fact that I could light firecrackers on fire. I could take the fuse and I could put it down on the ground. And I could take my magnifying glass and move it in the right place and get that fuse so hot. And by the way, John, I put this on my Facebook yesterday. I'm going to go back and buy some more. It's only $1.24. I was at Wally World yesterday. Once again, I don't like going to Wally World because I try to walk the talk and talk the talk and all that kind of stuff and try to do business locally. But I tried 4 different places to get something locally, a locally owned and operated company, and I could not find it. Matter of fact, when I went to Wally World, they had the last one there, and I went to buy it. Okay, so I'm walking down the aisle, and at the end of one of the end caps, I see this display for was it exploding rabbit poop.
Like a candy, I guess?
No, it's made by the TNT company. It's like a party favor. It blows up, but it looks like rabbit poop. Okay? I'm going like, okay, gotta have it. So
I just went to your Facebook and I see it, Brad. Well, a fun trick noisemaker. That's fun.
It's exploding rabbit.
Now, you said you went to 4 different stores to look for that?
No. God, my life is sometimes, I think to myself,
it's beautiful. Your life is beautiful, Brad.
Okay. After I get off the air yesterday, I go out and start my car to get it warmed up because it's sort of a cold-natured beast. If you don't warm it up at least for a couple minutes, when it gets real cold, it dies all the time. Okay, so I go out to warm it up, and I get sidetracked, and I go back about a half an hour later, and I go outside, and it's not running. And to make matters worse, I had the blower motor on full. Well, anyway, long story made short, it ran the battery down. And I had a jump pack, one of those little portable jump packs, and I couldn't find it. I had it in one of my cars. I'm going like, okay. So I'm going like, okay, I got to go buy one. So obviously, this time of the year, it's like right now, it's like if you go to Wally World or any of the stores in August, you see tons of snow shovels. You go there today, there are no snow shovels. They're all gone.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with these battery packs because nobody can get their car started. So all of a sudden, nobody has these battery packs anymore. They're all gone. So one Walmart, the Walmart in Bridgeton on the Rock Road had one. So that's what I went to. And
How did you get there if your battery was dead?
I have multiple cars because I'm not,
That you keep at the station?
Yeah, man. Well,
okay.
You're talking to a guy who owns 14 lawnmowers. You don't want to know how many cars I own right now. You don't want to know. It's double digits, put it that way. Okay? And the interesting thing was, a friend of mine one time said, "Why don't you sell all your cars and buy a good one?" And I said, "Okay, if I sold all my cars and pooled the money, I could maybe buy an 84 Gremlin." You know what I'm saying? Maybe. On a good day.
So you went and you got one.
Yeah, I got one of the battery packs, and I went back and started my car. So
I'm surprised you didn't have more battery packs.
Well, I only had one of those.
Okay.
And to the point where, here's the other problem. I have a really nice battery charger, but guess where that's at? That's at the crap transmitter site because I'm charging a battery out there. So
I see what you're saying.
So
that seems to me like I have 2 battery packs. Like I got a Stanley Fat Max, and then I have an older battery thing. That seems to me like something that a Brad Hildebrand would have one like in every room. You know what I'm saying? That seems like a very Brad thing.
It's funny. That's exactly what I ended up buying, a Stanley Fat Max. Which
did you really? Yeah, I like mine.
Exactly what
and
I
have. Mine has like the air compressor and everything on it.
Oh, you got the big. I just got the little tiny thing. I got the small thing that just has the flashlight on it. I don't have the air compressor. I just got the.
To make you laugh, Brad, guess where I got that gift from?
Where?
It was my 10-year anniversary gift from Monsanto.
Really? Really?
Yeah, we got
Interesting.
a catalog at 5-year, 10-year. You get a catalog of stuff to pick from. And there's a lot of stuff. You can get a little trinket that says 10 years here. And I was like, give me the Stanley Fat Max, baby. Are you kidding?
It's interesting because John, you come up to mind. We started playing, put a song back in rotation on Westplex 107.1, and I don't know if you ever know this. So the original song, the Billy Joel song, "We Didn't Start the Fire." There's a new version of that. I can't remember who's by. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's by the folks that do the theme song for Spidey and His Amazing Friends. It's Fall Out Boy, and they have a line that says Monsanto GMO.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Every time I hear that song,
and I've heard it on your station, Brad.
yes, every time I hear that song, I think to myself, "Oh, it's John Combest. He's in the song."
Yeah, that's Fall Out Boy doing
GMO.
the angry, like,
Right.
For folks who don't know, they updated the Billy Joel song,
Right, exactly,
with like modern stuff
yes,
and liberal progressive crap.
Right,
But
exactly. Monsanto GMO. It's exactly what it is. It's all the things they don't like. It's like, we didn't start the fire. Now, you know what they need to do? God, John, I feel like you and I have been separated at birth. We both have a Stanley Fat Max. I'm telling you, although
I know. Now, actually, my battery in that, and let's do some admin stuff on the air. My battery on that has been getting weak and not charging well. I can replace the battery on a Fat Max, right? Or does it make more sense to just buy a new one?
I don't know. The problem on it is that sometimes, and it's funny, I just have gone through this with a bunch of uninterruptible power supplies here at the radio station where the batteries go bad. And on one version, I can buy the batteries very easily. They're only like $20. The other version, they're like, it's almost as expensive as just buying a new one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost
I've
at a
thought
point.
of that before because my compressor sometimes gets a little wonky. And in troubleshooting, I've learned that could be the battery. I mean, I've had it for like 7 years now.
Yeah. Well, you can. The problem is, John, do you know how to use a screwdriver?
No, I've never seen one before. I take the big round end. By the way, Brad, you'll appreciate the fact that I once made screwdrivers at Kirby Junior High School in beautiful Spanish Lake. We actually would put them in a, what's it called? Where you heat up the metal?
We heat up the metal?
Yeah, like not a furnace, but whatever we called it. We would forge them
at
Kirby Junior High. I mean, right. And I still have screwdrivers that I use that I made at Kirby.
And then you took you had the piece of back in the day you used plexiglass or Lexan or stuff like that, which was the handle, and you drilled the hole.
On a lathe. We put it on a lathe and we made a handle. You're exactly right. And we smooth it out. Yeah, Brad. You remember that trick.
That's when they actually taught useful things at schools. as opposed
and hey, those things still last. I can still use my Kirby screwdrivers, Brad.
Did you make a dustpan too? Did you make the sheet metal dustpan?
I did not make a dustpan, but I made several little. We had like what is it called where you fold the metal? What's it called?
That's a brake.
A brake. We would use the brake to make little. I still hold screws in my garage from the little metal boxes I made.
See?
Shout out to Kirby Junior High, Brad. It produced you and I, right?
God, I can tell you a story about my shop class at Kirby Junior High, but I won't. Okay, we have to take a break. We have to take a 23-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow. John, talk to you later.
See you later.